You exclusive audio behind some of the key refereeing decisions in the Premier League. As always, I'm joined by Howard Webb, the Chief Refereeing Officer at PGMO. Before we get started, here's a quick reminder of who you'll be hearing from in today's clips. On the left-hand side of your screen, you'll see subtitles from the officials in the VAR booth. That's the video assistant referee, the assistant VAR, the replay operator, and the semi-automated offside operator. And on the right-hand side of your screen, you'll see the on-field officials. It's important to note that the referee does not hear everything that is said. But when the VAR is speaking directly to the referee, the VAR subtitle graphic will turn green. OK, let's start off with the Manchester derby at Old Trafford and a challenge by Diogo Dalot on Jeremy Doku.
Just watching that challenge.
There's a chance he's touched that ball as well as his leg. I'm not 100% though.
Yeah, let's just watch it. Yeah, he does. There's glancing contact on the knee. There's no force, but there is glancing contact. He's tried to play the ball and he catches it with glancing contact. Can you see it? Can you see? Glancing contact. There's no force. He's tried to play the ball. He flicks, he misses the ball, he catches it with a follow through. Yeah, I'm happy to confirm the on-field decision. Yeah.
How fast does he come in?
He doesn't. He kind of slows into it. Just play it normal speed. Slow it into normal speed.
Yeah, he checks his step, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tails confirming the yellow card for Manchester United 2. He tries to play the ball, he misses it, and then he makes glancing contact onto the knee. There's no force or intensity, but he does catch him with a follow through.
Yes, I know. That's why it's only a yellow, because it's glance contact.
Well, this one's split opinion. I was in the studio, this very studio, covering the game, and I was outvoted 2-1. Peter Schmeichel and Joleon Lescott both thought it was a red. I thought it was a yellow. Give us your verdict.
Yeah, hi Michael. It did split opinion, but I've also heard a lot of opinion, as you've alluded to say that this should have been a red card offence. The officials on the field saw the actions of Dalot. They saw him stretch forward with his foot. He touches the ball, and then there's contact on Jeremy Doku. They deemed that to be a reckless action and therefore worthy of a yellow card. You'll see on the field there's not a lot of sense around a red card. There's not a lot of reaction to it when it happens in full speed. The VAR's job then is to look at that and decide, is the on-field decision of yellow card clearly and obviously wrong? Now, we'll talk on this show about a lot of situations that sit in the grey zone where there's a mix of considerations. I think this is one of those. I know other people think it's clearly red. I don't agree. I think there's a mix of considerations. I think, firstly, you have to think about what those considerations are. What is the point of contact is the important one, and I know that when we look at this, we see that the point of contact is on the knee. But we also have to factor in speed, force and intensity. You'll not see many red cards in the Premier League for serious foul play that don't involve those things. Now, we evaluate those things through a full-speed view of the incident, and without looking at it at full speed, you get kind of a distorted view. You don't get a true picture of how much force and speed there was in the challenge. Then we have to slow it down, of course, to see the points of contact. So different ways of looking at the video for different considerations, but we have to consider the full mix of them when deciding to come to a final outcome.
Well, let's have a look at it then. This is the real-time view of it, Howard. And just explain that. In a minute, we'll go on to the rule and what's the difference between serious foul play and reckless. But just explain what you're seeing here.
Well, full speed, he comes in. There's not a lot of speed. He stays on his feet. He stretches his foot out. He touches the ball. Undoubtedly, then there's contact that comes through. That foot touches the knee, comes off pretty quickly, and we can see on slow-mo that it does touch that knee. But at full speed, when you play it in real time, you can see there's not a great deal of speed in the action, not a lot of intensity. We were heavily criticised a few years ago for using slow motion and freeze frames, because people said, this is not reality, it's not how the game's played. When you slow it down, it can look a lot worse, and it does. When you freeze frame it, you can make a lot of situations look like red card offences. So it's difficult for me to hear people make a judgment on this just by analysing freeze frame and slow motion, coming to the consideration that it's red on that basis. Yes, it could be red, but you have to think about the need to look at it at full speed We've done that for some time now. We thought it was a fair criticism some time ago when people said, stop using slow-mos as the main way of analysing these situations. And we've listened and we agree, and we play it in full speed. Then we slow it down a little bit to see the exact point of contact, to factor that in as well. But without speed and force and intensity, it's unlikely to be a red card. I think it's one where the referee's call should stand on the field. That's what we've said we'll do, where there's a mix of considerations. I think there is a mix, and therefore I think in this situation it was right to leave it as the referee's call. If red had been given, I would have expected the red card to stand as well, in the same way.
I totally agree with that. But what's the difference then? Reckless, serious foul play. Yellow card here, red card here. Some people will argue, I mean, it's in a dangerous position, on his knee, etc. But explain the difference there.
Yeah, reckless is when you go in there and there's an element of danger that you've gone into the challenge with, a danger to the opponent, and you've gone in with disregard to it, thinking it could end up with an outcome that's dangerous to the opponent. But for that to be realised, there needs to be excessive force, and that's, I guess, the element that I think we need to view that at full speed. Is there excessive force? Some will say yes. I'm not quite there, but I can see that there could be. It's a subjective judgment, you see, at full speed. Is there excessive force? I'm not sure, maybe, but I'm absolutely aligned that once that decision's taken on the field, we leave it as referee's call.
After listening to Howard Webb explain the Diogo Dalot decision, I actually think this is one of those moments where you understand why people are frustrated, but also why VAR didn't step in. Webb's core argument is consistency with the current refereeing framework. He keeps coming back to three things: speed, force, and intensity. Yes, Dalot makes contact with Jeremy Doku on the knee. That's undeniable. But Webb is clear that contact alone isn't enough for a red. At full speed, Dalot slows into the challenge, stays on his feet, and there's no excessive force. And this is important. Webb openly admits this sits in a gray zone. He doesn't claim it's never a red. In fact, he says if the referee had given a red on the field, VAR likely wouldn't have overturned it either. That tells you how fine the margins are. What he pushes back against, and I think fairly, is judging these incidents purely off slow motion and freeze frames. We've all been guilty of that. Slow it down and almost any contact looks brutal. Webb's point is that football happens at full speed, and decisions should reflect that reality. So do I understand why some people thought red? Absolutely. Knee contact always looks bad. But within the current laws and VAR threshold, clear and obvious error, I can see why the on-field yellow stood. The bigger issue, though, is perception. When fans hear gray area, it sounds like uncertainty, and football fans don't like uncertainty. This decision wasn't scandalous, but it perfectly sums up why refereeing debates never go away.